Called ceasefire agreement is a really dreadful agreement. It's very, very hard to believe that Lebanon signed it. The fundamental problem is that it says that all Lebanese groups will cease all military action against Israel. And it says that Israel will cease any offensive military action against Lebanon. So the qualification saying that only offensive action will be stopped doesn't apply to Lebanon, it only applies to Israel. So Israel can continue action if it characterizes it as defensive. And of course that's what Israel does. And we're now into the fourth day of the ceasefire. And I don't know what's happened today. I'm hearing Israeli drones overhead. On the first 3 days of the ceasefire, Israel committed 51 violations of the ceasefire, all of which Israel say were not violations of the ceasefire because they were defensive actions. That included 3 missile or bomb strikes. Yesterday's was a drone strike. The previous 2 seem to have been from bombers on alleged Hezbollah targets. And the other problem with the ceasefire agreement is that it's monitored by the United States, which is of course party to the conflict. These are American bombs which are hitting people, fired from American technology, donated by the United States. And America views Hezbollah as a foreign terrorist organization. So any Israeli strike on anything Israel says is Hezbollah is viewed as legitimate by the United States at any time, because they view it as a counter-terrorism operation, not as a military strike. So we've had Israel shoot at journalists, we've had Israel shoot at a funeral party with snipers, we've had Israel shoot at ambulances and demolish ambulances, we've had Israel strike 3 vehicles on the road, claiming this was all Hezbollah. And we have a so-called ceasefire agreement where one side is allowed to fire and the other side is not allowed to fire back. Plus, the ceasefire agreement says that the Lebanese army will take control of Lebanon's borders and stop the entry of any arms, meaning preventing any resupply to Hezbollah from Syria. But they can't take control of their southern border and prevent Israel from resupplying its troops from Israel. And what Israeli troops have been doing is they've been taking advantage of the ceasefire to advance into and take towns that they could not take during the fighting. So places from which they were repelled in heavy fighting, they have now walked into during the ceasefire, and they're now fortifying and resupplying and entrenching and building up positions in southern Lebanon. This is the Litani River. The ceasefire agreement stipulates that the Lebanese army will set up checkpoints at all crossings of the Litani River, those that Israel hasn't bombed yet. So, in effect, this is making this a new border. This becomes the southern border. The Lebanese army is controlling this as though it were the southern border of Lebanon. And Israel is effectively claiming control of everything south of it, which includes the city of Tyre. This is a crazy situation. And the day before the ceasefire, in the part of the Litani River which is closest to Israel, near where it rises, just a few miles away from the Israeli border, there Israel helicoptered in some special forces for a few seconds to do a photo shoot in order to be able to claim they had reached the Litani River. And they are pushing towards it all the time under the cover of the ceasefire. So this is crazy. This is absolutely nuts. This is the worst ceasefire agreement you can possibly imagine. And how long Hezbollah are prepared to put up with Israel continually breaching it and encroaching further and further towards the Litani from the positions they had reached in the fighting, I do not know. But it seems to me impossible that this ceasefire will last.